He told me not to come home for Christmas, so I took the house, after years of dodging bullets, burying brothers in arms, and sending money to a family that never asked if I was okay. I got one cold text from my father. Don't bother coming this year. They say war changes you, but no one ever warns you that coming home can change you even more. I was sitting in my one-bedroom apartment in Flagville, South Carolina when my phone buzzed. It was December 19th. The Christmas lights I'd hung across the window blinked like they were mocking me, colorful, desperate, pretending joy. I hadn't heard from my parents in weeks. No calls, no emails. No, we're proud of you after my last deployment. I thought maybe this time would be different. I'd been honorably discharged and had the scars to prove it. And for once, I wasn't just passing through. I was home for good. But the message on my phone didn't read like a welcome. Don't bother coming this Christmas. We decided you should stay away this year. That was it. No love, Dad. No hope you're doing okay. Just that. I stared at the words, numb. The military taught me to remain composed, to stay focused even under fire. I've patched up friends dying on desert roads. I've slept through mortar blasts. I've gone days without speaking, thinking, feeling. But this hit harder than anything that ever exploded near me. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't call back. I typed one word, fine. And I meant it. Not the kind of fine you say through gritted teeth, hoping someone will ask again. No, this was the final kind of fine, the kind you send when a door closes for the last time. I deleted the plane ticket I'd booked 3 weeks earlier. I closed my laptop. Then I poured a glass of red wine and sat by the window, staring at the blinking lights and the quiet, mocking world outside. To the family, I whispered, raising the glass to no one. 5 days later, on Christmas Eve, I woke up to 10 missed calls, 1 from my brother Tyler, 4 from my mom, 1 from my dad, and 1 from a number I didn't recognize. A voicemail from a lawyer. That was the one that stopped me cold, because, by then, it was already too late to undo what I'd set in motion. Too late to unwrite the letter I'd sent. Too late to pretend the silence hadn't said everything. They thought I'd come back like I always did. Loyal, forgiving, starving for scraps of love. But this time I wasn't the girl who left in uniform. I was someone else. Someone harder. Someone who'd finally stopped trying to earn her father's approval. Do you want to understand how I got here? Let me take you back. I was 18 when I enlisted. My father didn't hug me at graduation. He just said, try not to embarrass yourself out there. That was his love language, criticism, dressed up as advice. But I didn't join him. I joined because I needed to matter. Home never felt safe. It never felt like mine. Not with the way Dad looked at me like I was a burden he hadn't signed up for. A mistake he couldn't return. When I made sergeant, I flew home for Christmas. I just wanted to hear something, anything. We're proud of you, glad you're safe. Hell, even a welcome home. Instead, he opened the door and handed me a shovel. Driveway's packed. Grab a coat, Mom. She was a whisper, always wringing her hands, whispering, just don't make him angry. And Tyler? He became Dad's echo. Learned early that agreement meant peace. He became a mirror to the men I was trying so hard not to become. Still I tried. Every year. I called on birthdays. I sent flowers on their anniversary. Mailed checks when the roof leaked or the car broke down. They never asked where the money came from. Never asked what it cost me. Just cashed it. And sometimes sent an emoji back. A thumbs up. A smiley face. A digital pat on the head for being useful. But every Christmas I hoped for a chair at the table that felt like mine, not out of duty, but out of love. This year was supposed to be different. I had my discharge papers, a modest pension, a quiet apartment, a tired heart. I thought maybe I could finally come home, just like me. Not the soldier, not the fixer, not the disappointment. But then that message came. That text detonated something cold inside me. And in that stillness, I remembered something. 5 years ago, on a rare leave, Dad had asked me to co-sign something. A second mortgage on the house. I was 25. He called it a technicality. Said his credit wasn't great. And I was just signing as a backup. He promised I'd never have to worry about it. I was exhausted, desperate to believe that being needed meant I mattered. So I signed, and forgot. But after the text, I went digging. I wasn't looking for revenge, just a distraction. And then, buried in an old army email archive, I found the document. Digitally executed. Signed by him. Signed by me. Stamped. Witnessed. Legal. I clicked through it again. Slower this time. And there it was. In the event of primary borrower default or voluntary transfer, the co-signer assumes controlling interest over the property until full loan maturity. Controlling interest. I sat back, stunned. While he was so busy cutting me off, he forgot one thing. I wasn't just his daughter anymore. I was the majority owner of his pride and joy. The same house he told me I wasn't welcome in. He couldn't legally refinance it without me. He needed me. And I didn't even know it until now. That night, I called a real estate lawyer I'd met during a seminar on base in Tampa. Hypothetically, I said, what happens if a co-signer holds the majority interest and the borrower tells her not to come home anymore? There was a pause. Then a chuckle. They shouldn't have told her that, he said. Because if she wants to take control of the property, she can. I didn't tell my family anything. I didn't scream. I didn't threaten. I just wrote a letter. Calm, formal, polite, effective immediately. I will be exercising my controlling interest as co-signer and legal partial owner of the property located at 12 Windmere Lane. All legal rights and responsibilities will be enacted through counsel. You will be contacted shortly. I mailed it certified. Old school. Intentional. Let them open it together. Let them feel it. Then I booked a cabin in the Smoky Mountains for Christmas. A quiet place. Snow. A fire. No distractions. On Christmas morning, I turned my phone on. 10 missed calls. One voicemail from their lawyer. My brother's voice panicked. My mother's voice shaking. And I smiled. Not out of revenge. Out of clarity. Because for the first time in my life, I didn't need to be invited home. I already owned it. Tyler was the first to call. Ratch, what the hell is this? His voice crackled through the phone like he couldn't quite believe he was dialing my number. I was sitting on the porch of my cabin, wrapped in a wool blanket, coffee in hand. The Smoky Mountains stretched before me, powdered in snow, silent and unmoved by panic. Dad's freaking out, Tyler said. Something about lawyers and eviction notices. He says you're trying to take the house? I let the silence sit for a second before answering. I'm exercising my rights, I said calmly. Same way he executed his decision to tell me not to come home. Tyler made a noise halfway between a scoff and a plea. Come on, this is Dad. You know how he is. Yes, I said. I do. That's exactly why I'm doing this. The wind picked up outside, rustling the pine trees like whispers from ghosts. I stared into the distance, remembering every Christmas where I had prayed for a smile, a word, even just a place at the table that felt like mine. Sometimes, I said quietly, the people who hurt you the most never believe you'll fight back. They rely on your silence, your need. But I don't need crumbs anymore. I ended the call before he could argue. The next call came from their lawyer, Harold Wells. His voice was practiced, slick in that way men's voices are when they've spent too many years diffusing chaos with charm. Miss Monroe, he began, I think there's been some misunderstanding. Your letter caused considerable alarm. There's no misunderstanding, Mr. Wells, I said. The documents are valid. I have the original. I've reviewed the terms with my counsel. I'm invoking control. He paused. I imagined him loosening his tie. Well, surely we can discuss alternatives. A buyout. Perhaps a reassignment. I'm open to discussion, I said, cutting him off. But the first condition is this. He calls me. Not you. Not Tyler. Him. Another pause. You understand this is unorthodox? I smiled to myself. So is exiling your daughter over a text message. He didn't reply. We both understood what this was. Not about walls and windows. This was about power. A man who'd spent his life making me feel small had accidentally handed me the very thing he'd once used to shut the door in my face. The cabin was quiet again. Snow started falling, soft flakes tapping against the windows like tiny reminders that winter doesn't care who you are. It just comes. I stared at the fireplace, thinking of all the times I'd stood outside their house, hoping someone would open the door first. I'd survived ambushes, Eids, dehydration, and sleep deprivation. But nothing had bruised me like that feeling of not being wanted. They didn't know it yet, but I had already filed formal legal documents, a notice of possession, change, certified and time-stamped. The Monroe family home at 12 Windmere Lane was now under my control, and I wasn't handling it alone. A property management company run by a female veteran I knew from base was scheduled to conduct a formal inspection the next day, not to evict, not yet, but to let them know things had changed. "Hey Ratch," my friend Julia said. "We did the walkthrough. Your folks weren't exactly thrilled to see us, but it was civil, just like you said." I exhaled, pressing the phone to my cheek. "How bad is it?" She hesitated. "Cosmetically, not terrible. Structurally, leaks in the basement, mold under 2 windows. But here's the kicker." I sat up straighter. 2 of the bedrooms are occupied. College kids. Looks like sublets. No paper trail, just cash deals. I closed my eyes. Of course, they hadn't just cut me out, they'd monetized the very house they told me I wasn't welcome in. Used my legal signature to turn a profit behind my back. "They rented out my house," I whispered. "Yeah," Julia said. "Looks that way." I hung up and stared at the mountains. For the first time that day, my chest didn't feel heavy. It felt insulted. That night, I drafted the second letter. A no more polite tone. No more formal grace. Effective January 2nd. You are hereby given a formal 30-day notice of management transition and possible termination of residency. Your sublease agreements are illegal. Rent collection is suspended. This property is now under formal investigation for code violations. All communications must go through legal counsel. Signed, Sergeant First Class Rachel Monroe, US Army Ret, legal co-owner. 12 Windmere Lane. Sent a copy to Harold. Then I texted Tyler. "Check your mailbox." Voicemails, calls, texts, pleading, shouting, apologizing, threatening, even from Dad. I didn't answer any of them, because silence is a kind of reply. And mine said, "I'm done being your soldier." Christmas morning used to be sacred, for other families anyway. I woke up early, wrapped in a thick sweater, and sat in front of the fire. There was no tree, no presents, no smell of cinnamon or ham, but there was peace, peace I'd earned. The phone rang again. My mother this time. "Rachel," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Please, don't do this. Your father hasn't slept." Tyler's barely speaking. I didn't respond at first. Just stared at the flames. "Can't we just move past it?" she begged. "Do you remember what he texted me?" I asked. She went quiet. "He told me not to come home," I said. "Not this year. Not next year. Not ever." "Rachel, do you know what that does to someone who's been deployed for nearly a decade? Who called from war zones? Who sent money when you asked, and never once said no?" Still silence. "I was in Kabul on my 26th birthday. Got ambushed. Lost 3 guys. I called you when I got out. You said, 'Well, I'm glad you're safe, but don't talk about that around your father. It makes him anxious.'" She began to cry, ugly, wet sobs that soaked the line. "I'm not doing this out of anger," I said. "I'm doing it because I've finally accepted I was never really part of your home unless I brought something to the table." She begged me to reconsider, but the truth was, the paperwork was already processed. The inspection had happened. The warning had been issued. The change was real. On January 2nd, I pulled into the driveway at 12 Windmere Lane. The house looked the same, but I didn't feel the same. I wasn't the daughter coming home. I was the owner visiting. I wasn't alone. Julia was with me. A locksmith followed behind. I carried a clipboard full of legal documents. The snow crunched beneath my boots. My dog tags hung around my neck. Heavy, familiar, earned. Dad opened the door, red-faced and sweating, even in the cold. "What the hell is this? Circus?" he barked. I didn't answer. I walked right past him. My house. My rules. Mom stood at the base of the stairs, clutching a rosary. Tyler sat on the couch, pale, his eyes flickering with something that looked like shame. "This is a legal transition of ownership and management," I said. "As of this morning, all rights fall under my direct control. You have 30 days to formalize tenancy or vacate." Dad exploded. "You can't do this. This is our home." "No," I said. "It's my investment. You defaulted, and you used my name to cover your mistakes." His mouth opened, closed. "You signed it over to a 24-year-old in uniform just to keep the bank off your back." I walked through the living room. The photo of me from boot camp was gone. The walls felt bare, like they'd tried to scrub my existence from the house. I turned back to them. "The illegal tenants have been notified. If they're not out in 10 days, I'll file for trespassing. And if anyone damages this property or interferes with the process, I will press charges." Mom's lips trembled. "But where will we go?" I met her eyes. "I don't know, Mom. Maybe not home for Christmas," she sobbed. Tyler stood up, tried to speak. I raised a hand. "I don't need words anymore. I needed them 10 years ago. Now, I need boundaries." The locksmith changed the front door code while I watched the snow start falling again. When I stepped outside, the cold hit my face, and it felt like freedom. The final day of the notice. The end of the silence. The beginning of something new. I pulled into the driveway at 12 Windmere Lane with the engine off and the world quiet. No cars in front. No figures in the windows. No tension pressing down on my chest. Just stillness. They were gone. No fights. No standoffs. No goodbyes. Just an empty house waiting for the one person who had been denied a place in it for so long. Me. I stepped out of the car, boots crunching through a thin layer of snow. The morning sky was gray, stretched wide and indifferent, like a fresh page with no story written yet. In my pocket was a new key. I didn't knock. I didn't hesitate. I just walked up the steps and opened the door. The hallway was colder than I remembered. Bare. The air still held a trace of cinnamon, maybe, from the candles Mom used to light around Christmas. There were no boxes left behind, no furniture in the foyer, just hollow silence. I moved through the house slowly, room by room. The living room where we used to sit during holidays was stripped. Gone was the worn leather couch. Gone was the photo of Tyler and Dad at his college graduation. That was the same year I was overseas patching up wounds that didn't belong to me. No one had asked for pictures of that. On the floor, near where the coffee table used to sit, was a deep scratch across the hardwood. I knelt and ran my fingers across it. I remembered that table. I bought it with my first deployment check. 19 years old, still believing that gifts could buy me grace. I brought it home on Christmas Eve and told them it was a loan until they could replace theirs. They never replaced it. They just used it until it was scratched and scarred, until it was mine only in memory. I sat on the floor for a moment, not crying, not angry, just aware. This was what damage looked like when no one saw you bleed. In Tyler's room, I found a duffel bag tucked in the corner of the closet. Still zipped. Still tagged from a ski trip I wasn't invited to. He once told a friend I was too intense to be around for holidays. I left the bag untouched. In the attic, a box of holiday decorations. Plastic bins labeled in Mom's neat handwriting. Inside, snowmen, lights, a broken nativity scene. Nothing of mine. Not a single ornament from childhood. Not a single decoration I remembered making. It was like I'd never existed here. I returned to the living room and opened the back door. Cold wind blew through the house like a cleansing breath. I stood there, framed in the doorway, and let it all pass through me. The pain. The rejection. The quiet nights spent staring at my phone, waiting for a reply that never came. This wasn't revenge. This was reclamation. A restoration of something they tried to take my place. My name. My worth. I had it now, and I wasn't letting go. The next day, I met Julia back at the house. She had her laptop, her business plan, and her usual military-style punctuality. "You sure about this?" she asked. I nodded. "Let's do it." We walked room by room, discussing renovations, layout changes, and accessibility needs. We weren't just repainting walls, we were reimagining purpose. This house, the same one that had cast me out, would become a sanctuary. Not for them. For women like me, women who came home to closed doors, to silence, to ghosts. We named it the Monroe House. Transitional housing for female veterans. Short-term shelter. Long-term healing. A place where no woman would ever stand in the snow and wonder if she was wanted. When the local paper got wind of the story, a retired soldier turning a family home into a refuge for veterans, they sent a reporter to interview me. She was young, nervous, probably didn't expect someone like me to answer the door in army boots and paint-stained jeans. She asked all the usual questions. What inspired this? Why now? What happened to the family? I told her part of it. Just enough. It wasn't about punishment, I said. It was about survival. Some of us don't come home to parades. We come home to locked doors. She scribbled notes, nodding. Then she looked up. And what do you want people to remember about this place? I paused. Then I said, the door stays open. Always. They don't call. I don't visit. And I don't light candles for them. But every Christmas, I light one small white candle on the porch of the Monroe house, not for them. For her. The girl who once stood outside this house in uniform, praying for warmth, for welcome, for any sign that she belonged. She found her way back, and she made sure no one else like her would ever stand alone again. And now you know my name. I am Rachel Monroe, Sergeant First Class, U.S. Army retired, owner of 12 Windmere Lane, founder of the Monroe House, daughter of a family who never saw me, mother to a home that finally does, and from wherever you're watching this, stay with me, because this is what reclaiming looks like.